beginning in academic year 2022-23, any authorizer may authorize an unlimited number of public charter schools. So what would be the interpretation on that?
Representative Lewis, that's existing. Kids in the west end of Louisville when it comes to education, period.
We always think about Jefferson County. You know, there's other places in the state besides Jefferson County. Seems like everyone really wants to think about Jefferson County. We have many programs in Jefferson County. We have many schools in Jefferson County. Right now, we're trying to rearrange a lot of our busing and schools, home schools. So I just don't want to ask questions. I have many questions, and I know we don't have much time. So, Madam Chair, I'm not going to take a lot of time, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Representative, I know you can't see. Oh, there we go. I just wanted to know why Northern Kentucky and Louisville as the two locations that you decided for this pilot.
Representative, over the last year or so, and actually this really predates me, and I'm sorry they're not here. There's a group of ministers in the west end of Louisville that I think for about 20 years have been begging for charter schools in that part of Louisville. They think the community there supports it. They've got, and these things got to have community support. You don't put a charter school where they're not wanted, you know. So there's a group of folks that want to come and do one, and we think that if we can go in there, and I'll tell you this, Representative, every single person who came to talk to me, whether they were for or against charter schools, acknowledged this one truth. We are failing the minority kids in the west end of Louisville when it comes to education, period. So my hope is if we run a pilot project, maybe we can get one there that will show the rest of the state there's nothing to be afraid of. These things are going on all over the country, and they're not going to hurt public schools. 90% of the kids still go to public schools, or traditional public schools. These are, of course, still public. So I think west end of Louisville definitely needs one. Northern Kentucky, especially up near the riverfront, Covington, is another area where we see, I don't want to call it an education desert, but that's what I think it is. And so there's an opportunity there to go ahead and see if we can try, if you'll see in my bill, we called it an urban academy, where local kids right then and there, the people that live in the community that want this, maybe we can come together and give it a shot. So that's why we chose those two.
Please be brief.
Yes, well, I will. I'm curious to know, because there are three representatives who serve the West End, have you had a chance to meet with any of my other two colleagues about this bill who serve the West End?
No, ma'am, I didn't, to be honest. But in fairness, they didn't come see me either. It's not been a secret. It's been out there for a long time. But I think we've had other committees, especially when the original charter school bill was here. I think you and I came in together. You might remember some of those discussions. You know, we had a ton of folks from the West End. And frankly, I didn't have them here today because I knew we weren't going to have time to hear it all.
All right, thank you.
Representative Cmtee.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Representative, I'm going to start with a compliment. Thank you for removing the all virtual option. All virtual option should not ever be a charter option anywhere. That's 9 times out of 10 when you see charters in the news, it's because of abuses in virtual options. So thank you for doing that. Very first, I do believe that we are. I know that the trend nationwide has been, you know, the choice and the charter piece, and I completely understand that. There's some areas, particularly in parts of the state and parts of the country that need people thinking outside the box. I have a lot of history with working with choice programs, with charter. My concern is that we may slightly be overselling the effectiveness of charter. John Hattie is my go-to person, New Zealand researcher. He's got roughly 80 million students that he studied, thousands of studies on different things, and he ranks. He's got a rank list of 252 influences or effects on education. And he's got things in there, response to intervention, intervention for students with learning needs, and he's got them on a rank order. And if you go all the way to the bottom, he says that the standard deviation, 0.12, would be a student just sitting there existing in nature. And he's got charter at 0.09 as far as effectiveness. And choice is just slightly ahead of that at 0.11. So my concern is that we are going to, again, come to the education table and upset the apple cart, get a lot of teachers upset about a lot of things for something where statistically there's not really a huge upside, okay? And I'll close with a question. My concern is about schools that will close. Okay, charter schools close all across the country. You can Google it right now. I think last month there were 14, several of them in Indiana. What provisions are in this bill to protect those kids that now have to leave a charter school that they were sold is going to be your gift to the promised land, and now they have to go back to their school? Because if you refer back to John Hattie's list, you have moving between schools has a negative 0.34 impact on student achievement. So we're creating a system where we potentially could really harm students. And that's going to be my concern. What provisions put in place to protect that?
So remember, they're in the district right now going to a public school. The district is the one that's going to authorize this school. The district is the one that's going to oversee this school. And if something is going wrong with that school and that school closes, those kids are right in their same district they ever were. I don't know specifically where it is in the bill, but they'll just end up back at their other schools. Real quick, I want to comment on something you said earlier. In addition to Stanford maybe disagreeing with your Kiwi guy, I participated in a book club with my school superintendent and a bunch of teachers over COVID. And we did it in Zoom because we couldn't do it. And it was great. It was eye-opening. The teachers were awesome. They had lots of great ideas. And we did a study of all these different school districts all across the country. And I kept my mouth shut, and because at the end, everything that the teachers pointed to and said, that's awesome. I wish we could do that. I wish we could do that. I wish we could do that. I went and looked up the schools, and they were all charter schools. I'm not here to tell you they will fix every problem. There are good ones and there are bad ones. But to say that we're not even going to try, to me, we're doing a disservice to kids. And the research is especially kids who are minorities that live in cities.
Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When charters were approved in 2017, I was on the Jefferson County Board of Education at that time, and we immediately began training for board members on what it means to authorize a charter. We studied various standards that were in place. The school district even hired a person to help, an attorney, to help us understand charter law and charter languages. Charter language, what makes an effective charter, what makes a problematic charter, and we got very, very good training. We were, recognized that all eyes were on Jefferson County. We were even ahead of the curve on Kentucky School Board Association in offering training on this topic. And we looked very closely at standards that needed to be in place for a charter to be approvable. And to offer some protections. What standards are in this bill to make sure, and I should add, by the way, that no charter applications have been submitted to Jefferson County Public Schools, as far as I know, within the appropriate time frame for review. But what are the protections that are in here, and would Jefferson County School Board be called upon to approve a charter where standards are not met?
So keep in mind, the standards that were adopted in 2017, Representative Carney at the time was the guy spearheading this. He was a public school teacher. It was critically important to him that we get it right. We can all cite bad examples, just even north up in Ohio, of charters that don't do it right. So this bill has a ton of guardrails, and candidly, it's almost 80 pages of them. But I want to be very clear, Representative Wilner, I'm not changing any of them. So all of them are still here. It's existing law from 2017. I can't cite you to all of them, but you and I can get together and read, here's what an applicant has to do, and it's just a boom, 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 boom kind of thing. But we have not changed that in this bill.
Just quick follow-up. In our training, we were made aware that the safeguards in the bill, the 2017 bill, were not necessarily sufficient, that they were a good starting point, but that we as a board were advised, with legal opinion, to adopt stricter standards so that we don't see the kinds of the terrible things that have happened across the country with charter schools and with students who've been promised the moon and then are really left out in the cold. So would it be possible to amend this bill with stricter standards, or to allow the school board to adopt stricter standards to be able to stick with those, or would they be compelled to approve a charter that didn't meet stricter standards than what's in the bill?
With all due respect, ma'am, this law has been in place since 2017, and I haven't seen that bill. So I'm curious as to why, if it needed to be changed, nobody's bothered to even bring it up. I will say this, though. The implementation of the pilot project does not even really kick in until July of next year. There's a whole nother session between now and then, and I think lots of folks in this space would be wide open to conversations about what, if anything, needs to be changed.
Thank you.
We do have some people that wish to speak. We're going to take it until 10:15, and so I ask you to be brief. Jillian Tackett, the commissioner, KHSAA, if you would come to the table, please. You have about 3 minutes.
I'm Julian Tackett with the High School Athletic Association, and our objections actually to the bill, I think you all need to make the education policy decisions. People ahead of me and behind me know a lot more about curriculum and school options. The athletics piece that's contained on page 14 and 15 is troubling, and has been more troubling to the membership of the schools as they've shared with me over the last 4 years. So I do look forward to an opportunity to speak with a sponsor, and we'll relish that opportunity to try to share some information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I comment?
Briefly, we're in the current.
But Mr. Tackett, I'm curious. I haven't changed any part of that bill. And back in 2017, you were quoted in the Lexington Herald Leader as saying, for us, it's just another type of school. We already have 6 different types of school because of the various types of non-publics. Your message to families and students, don't let athletics be the reason you go or don't go to a charter school. Nothing in my bill has changed what you were okay with in 2017.
We had the same conversation with Representative Carney when that misquote occurred in the paper. We know it is a different type of school. There is specifically down in there sections about going to one school and being enrolled at another. That's the problem.
And since 2017, have you offered any language to change that?
We unfortunately, but prior to Mr. Carney's illness, we did have that discussion. It has not had anything followed. No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The members of CASA, please come to the table, introduce yourself for the record, and you have about 3 minutes. I was challenged with a robust agenda, and we're doing the best we can to allow everyone to, at least 4 or 5 in each group. So please share your concerns. Introduce yourself for the record. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Henry Webb, Superintendent of Kenton County Schools. Thank you for allowing us a few minutes to speak on House Bill 9 this morning. I'm here to oppose House Bill 9 and ask that this committee oppose House Bill 9. I could speak for a long time on this bill, but I know we were very brief. Just a couple of points real quick. To Representative McCoy, I don't know Representative McCoy, but I obviously respect all of our legislators. But to pass policy and say we'll figure it out is pretty bad policy when we're considering public education in the state of Kentucky. I'm very passionate about public education, and I asked this committee to not roll the dice and say we'll figure it out. Let's just do it. Just a couple of things about Northern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky is a unique place, but I want this committee to understand we have over 150 school options, public and private, over 150. And now with the new open borders, my question to the committee is, why do we need additional language on charter schools? We have open borders. It's already in the law. We have elected officials that can make the decision. So what is this really about? We have over 150 choices. And just real quick, I would just say that Senator Wise spoke earlier, and he said he has faith in our commissioner. Our commissioner, I didn't tell him I was going to quote him. I think he's in the room. But yesterday in a Monday message, I would submit to you, he probably has as much experience with as anybody in this room on charter schools, being from Colorado. And he stated, this is poor policy. It's a poor bill. We need to take more time. If you're going to consider any changes, let's get it right. And let's not just rush and make poor policy, especially in an area where we already have choice. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Julia Pyle. I'm the chair of the Boone County School Board. And also by trade, I'm a former CPA. I'm a treasurer of a treasurer and fiscal officer of a community college in Ohio. And so I have a very conservative financial background. My biggest concern about this bill is around the financial oversight of the charter schools. As a school board member, I levy taxes on our constituents, and I am responsible to them as their representative. In this charter school bill, there is not fiscal oversight. The funds transfer to an organization where they're not represented by taxpayers who elect them. There is not oversight. There's not accountability. What I liken this to, I'm going to give you a metaphor. I have a 15-year-old son, teenage son. I send him into the store saying we need some snacks. He comes out with Doritos and has opened the bag and starts eating them. What he should have bought was carrots and some apples and bananas. And that's what we're going to get with this charter school because there's not oversight on the process with internal controls in place before this happens. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. I'm Dr. Sally Sugg. I'm the superintendent in Shelby County Public Schools. I've been an educator for 40 years. I've been an administrator for 27 at the state and also the local level. I was associate commissioner under 2 of our commissioners, and I worked predominantly with low-performing schools in some of the areas that have been mentioned. We have put millions and millions of dollars of resources into those areas, and I submit to you, you have nothing different that will help the students that you propose will be helped with this legislation. What I submit to you today is the students that spoke today are the best example of what our public education system can do for all students. That is all. Each and every student has an equitable opportunity in all of those opportunities out there, public, private, parochial. We have many options. Public school is producing some of our best and our brightest. I want to also tell you a very brief story. I had a resignation I got through an email last night from a high school teacher effective April 11th. He is not leaving to go to Jefferson County, which pays more. I'm right on the border of Jefferson County, and we fight that all the time. He's leaving education. That's the second resignation I've received this week. Each week, it looks about the same. And all of my fellow superintendents that are here, I think will attest to that's what we're seeing. They're not leaving for the reasons you would think. Their reasons are the war on education, the war on teachers. And this is another example of them feeling downtrodden and beaten up after 2 years of being a public servant to not only our students, but feeding our families during a worldwide pandemic. I also want to say I served for 4 years as a public school board member elected, and I'm representing Ms. Brenda Jackson, who has spent 33 years on our local school board, and I want to reiterate what you just mentioned about the taxes that she is responsible for, that if they walk across the county line into Jefferson County, into a charter school, we will have no control. Those people who elected our school board members have not a clue what this is going to do. My last point, I want to reiterate everything Representative Cmtee said about Dr. John Hattie. If you will do your research, and pardon me if I misunderstood, I think you said a TV guy. Dr. John Hattie is one of the most leading educational researchers today, and has been for many years. He's one that many folks that are a lot smarter than we are rely on. And if you will read that research, I think you will see what charter schools can do for Kentucky.
Terry Morgan, Hardin County Schools.
Please be brief, Ms. Morgan. We're running.
I will. I just want to say, Representative McCoy, what I would like for you all to consider is, yes, charter schools may have to take all students, but do they have to keep all students? And what will that revolving door look like with kids coming in and then that school determining that this isn't the right fit for their particular school, and then they do come back to public schools on every day? And at the end of a 2-year cycle where our teachers have gone above and beyond, this is another attack they feel on the hard work and dedication they have done throughout these past 2 years and over time. So again, thank you, but I ask that you vote no to House Bill 9.
Thank you, and thank you all for joining us. And I apologize to anyone else. You're free to talk to the sponsor at any time, and this bill will be heard again in the Senate. But we have really overrun the time today, and I apologize if you did not get to speak. We have a motion on the bill. Motion on the bill by Representative Baker. Second. Second by Representative McCoy. Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker?
Yes.
Representative Banta?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Explain my vote.
Briefly, Ms. Representative Bojanowski.
I'd like to push back on the statement that Representative McCoy made that the selection of kids is not what happens in charters. I've got an academic book here that details how charters do select their own children, how charter schools control access and shape enrollment. And I have amendments filed that address some of the policy guidance that would improve our charter schools. So I would like to speak with you about those. And I just have to say, to flat out say that we are failing our minority kids in West Louisville without sitting down and collaborating with JCPS, with Dr. Polio, is just so frustrating to me as a JCPS teacher. Thank you.
Would you vote, please?
A no vote.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Donahue?
May I explain my vote?
Briefly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, what we've done down here as legislators, 2 comments. You know, we have a constitutional obligation to fund common schools, which are public schools, okay? And we do not check all the boxes to make public schools successful. We don't do it. We talk about it, but we don't do it. But the thing about this, the comment was made by my fellow legislator that did someone reach out to him? As a legislator, I've been doing this a long time. When I file legislation, what I do is that if I got legislation that's going to be in front of you, I reach out to both sides to get the input on this. And so I'll reserve the rest of my comments on the House floor, but my vote today is no.
Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Lewis?
No.
Representative Massey?
Can I explain my vote briefly?
Brief.
Thank you, everyone, for your presentation. I've been in education for 30-plus years now, and I have some major concerns. I think we all, at the end of the day, have the best interest in mind. I think that's the goal. That should be the goal. If it's not the goal, it should be the goal. That being said, when things come to a rush, as this has this year, it makes it difficult to have those open, candid conversations. And I think we do need to have those open, candid conversations and collaborate to see what's best in our communities. If we're going to give local control, then we need to make sure that we reach out to all stakeholders and have that conversation. So with regards to that, my vote today is no.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative McCoy?
Yes.
Representative Miller? Representative Gibbons-Prunty?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Riley?
Briefly explain my vote.
Go
Very
ahead.
concerned about the funding mechanism of this. I've been told by people that are much more experts than I am in school financing that this is probably unconstitutional. And I think there's probably going to be lawsuits filed in that regard. And I really don't want us to go through lawsuits again. The other part of this is Dr. Suggs, I think it was from Shelby County, mentioned lawsuits filed for experts.
Riley,
Briefly explain my vote.
Go
Very
ahead.
concerned about the funding mechanism of this. I've been told by people that are much more experts than I am in school financing that this is probably unconstitutional. And I think there's probably going to be lawsuits filed in that regard. And I really don't want us to go through lawsuits again. The other part of this is Dr. Suggs, I think it was from Shelby County, mentioned. I'm very concerned about the oversight in this. I think it's very important that we have transparency in our schools and we are aware of all the different things that affect our students. So for that reason, I'm a no.
Representative Scott,
No.
Representative Timoney, Representative Tipton,
Yes.
Representative Weber,
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Briefly explain.
Briefly.
I have, again, much more to say about this, but I do want to comment on this process, that this bill was originally slated for the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. It apparently could not get the votes there. It was withdrawn from committee to get the yes votes here. The committee membership had to be changed with the addition of one member, the removal of another. This is not good process. We were elected to represent our constituents. Some bills are meant to not pass out of committee because they're not ready yet. And for the gamesmanship that has been gone on to get a yes vote and to get this out of committee, this is not good democratic process. This is not good governance. This is not transparency. And I hope that my statement just now made transparent some of the games that have been played on this bill. Thank you.
We need your vote,
I
please.
vote no.
Chair Huff.
No. We have a title amendment on this bill. I have a motion on title amendment. Motion by Representative McCoy. Second. Second, Representative Baker. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
Title amendment is adopted. House Bill 9 passes with expression of opinion that the same should pass with committee substitute and the title attached thereto. Thank you for your indulgence and joining us today. To have a motion for adjournment? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.